Alrighty guys, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is your girl Courtney Lauren, and today I am going to be showing you guys how I make my ropa vieja, which is a Cuban shredded beef. And to get started, here are the ingredients that I have today. I have this beautiful slab of flank steak. Make sure you are using flank steak. It should have the marbling in there, and you can kind of see the straight lines. This is the type of beef that you want to use. This is what's going to break down really nice in that crock pot. It's going to be very tender, and it's going to shred up real nice, which is the whole point. Along with that, we have some red and green bell peppers. This is one whole red bell pepper and one whole green bell pepper I just sliced up. Here I have one whole medium onion that I sliced up as well. And in this container, I have 5 garlic cloves that I sliced right down the middle. Along with that, I have some thyme sprigs. You guys, if you don't want to use fresh thyme sprigs, you can also use dry thyme sprigs in the rub that we're going to make for the meat. I have some beef broth here. I have one whole can of petite diced tomatoes, and I have some tomato paste here, along with some olives. The green ones with the pimentos inside. We're going to be using that. And for some seasonings, I have some crushed red pepper flakes. I have some oregano. We're going to be using that for the rub, along with some cumin. And of course, we're going to be adding in some salt and some pepper. Okay. Oh, lastly, I forgot to mention I am going to be using some fresh cilantro too. That just wasn't listed on the countertop, but I am going to be using some fresh cilantro. So to get started, I'm going to get a bowl and I'm going to start measuring out 1 tablespoon full of all of my seasonings. This is going to be the rub that we make to go on the meat. So first I'm going to go in with 1 tablespoon of oregano leaves. Then I'm going to go in with 1 tablespoon of some dry cumin. Next, I'm going to do 1 tablespoon of salt and 1 tablespoon of black pepper as well. I'm going to get myself a little teaspoon. I'm going to give this a good mix just to get it all nice and blended up together. And then lastly, I'm going to be adding in a little bit of crushed red pepper as well. This gives it a really good kick, a little bit of a hint of spice element to the meat, which makes the sauce very, very good and flavorful. So I like to add this last. I'm going to be measuring out 1/4 of a teaspoon. That way it's not too spicy. If you guys like a lot of spice, of course you can add more, but my kids are also going to be eating this too, and I don't want to burn their mouths up. So I'm just going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of some crushed red pepper flakes. Mix that in as well, and that is going to be the dry rub. So now that I have that all mixed up and ready to go, as you can see here, it's nice and blended. I'm going to get my flank steak, and I'm going to heavily season both sides of this. You really just want to coat the entire piece of meat in your dry rub. So I like to just get my spoon, sprinkle on a few spoonfuls, and then I just get my hand and rub it all up and through. I'm trying to get all the surface area of the meat. I try not to leave anything blank or unseasoned as best as I can. So I'm going to season one side, I'm going to flip it, and then I'm going to season the other side the exact same way. Alrighty, now that my flank steak is seasoned up on both sides and ready to go, we're going to pan over to the crock pot and we are going to start assembling our ropa vieja. So first I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of tomato paste right into my crock pot. After that, I'm going to be adding in 1/2 cup of beef broth. And then after I add my beef broth, I'm going to add 1 can of petite diced tomatoes with the liquid. So you don't want to drain them. You want to just put everything, the tomatoes in the liquid, right into the crock pot. And then after that, I'm going to grab a spoon and mix this up real nice. You really just want to make sure that you break down that tomato paste. You don't want it to be clumpy at the bottom of the crock pot. So I like to just give it a good mix just to make sure everything is nice and smoothed out before I move on. And after I give that a good mix, I'm going to start adding in the rest of our ingredients as well. So I am going to be adding in 3 tablespoons of our green olives with the pimentos inside. If you want to add more, you can add more. If you want to add less, you can add less. That is up to you. And I also like to add in a little bit of the juice. It gives it a really good briny flavor. And you guys know I like to build on top of flavor. So if you add a little bit of that juice, I promise you it'll make the flavor even more complex and it'll just be even more delicious. So after you add in your olives and some olive juice, I like to start with just a couple of handfuls of my green and red bell pepper. And then I'm going to just put the meat on top so that it kind of cooks underneath of the meat, and then we're going to layer the rest on top as well. Alrighty, so now that I added some of our green and red bell peppers, I'm going to grab that meat and put that right in the crock pot. If some of the seasoning falls off, that's fine. It's all going to cook in the same pot anyway, so it is okay. And next, I like to grab some tongs and I like to flip it. That way, the top half while it's cooking isn't dry. I like to flip it like this so that that sauce from the tomatoes and stuff at the bottom kind of get on the meat so that it's not dry while it's cooking. Because obviously in a slow cooker, it takes a while for all the juices and stuff to start coming out, and I don't ever want the top half of my meat to be dry while the bottom half is submerged in the liquid, if that makes any sense. So if you flip it, it allows both sides a chance to get some of those juices on it to cook nice. So after that, I'm going to add in the rest of our ingredients. You're just going to add in the rest of your green and red bell peppers, the entire onion, toss that in as well. I'm just breaking up some of the pieces that were stuck together. I'm going to toss in all of my garlic cloves. Just go ahead and toss all of those in. And then next, I'm going to get some of my thyme sprigs and just toss a couple of those in there too. Guys, if you are the ones that are using the dry thyme, you would have added 1 tablespoon of that into the rub, and that would already be on the meat, so this part you can completely ignore. I'm not using dry thyme, so I'm just going to add some fresh thyme sprigs. So I'm just going to arrange that nicely in my crock pot, and then very last step, I'm just going to add in some fresh cilantro right on top. Guys, that is it. Our ropa vieja is assembled, so we are going to go ahead and cover this up. My crock pot is set on low, and I'm going to let this cook for about 9 hours on low in my crock pot. So I started it nice and early in the morning and was ready by dinner time. So we're just going to go ahead and lock that lid, set the timer on there, and after 9 hours I'm going to take this lid off, and I will show you guys what this looks like before we start to shred it up. I wish you guys could smell how good my house smelled cooking this all day. My mouth was just watering all day. Here's a closer look inside of the crock pot. You see how nice that looks. So I'm first going to remove the thyme sprigs before I start to shred this meat, because I am not removing the meat from the crock pot. I'm going to shred it right inside of the crock pot along with all of the juices and vegetables. So I like to just get rid of the stems now so that while I'm shredding, I don't have a whole bunch of stems in there with the meat and all the other stuff that you actually are going to eat. So just go ahead and take those out. It'll make your life easier later when it is time to eat this. And then after I am done removing these thyme sprigs, I'm just going to take my 2 forks and do this the old-fashioned way, and I'm just going to shred up all of this meat. Guys, look how that meat is just glistening with all of that seasoning and everything that we put in there, and it is just pulling apart like butter. Like, I'm not even using any force, I'm not using any elbow grease. I'm literally just putting the 2 forks, and the meat is just, as you can see, just ripping apart. It was so tender, so flavorful. You guys are going to absolutely love this recipe. I haven't made this in probably over a year and some change. My son is 2, and the last time I remember making this, I was pregnant with him. So it's been a very long time since I made this. And I figure, why not share this recipe with you guys? This is one of my favorites. And yes, so if you guys do make this, let me know down in the comments what you think, and if you liked it, which I'm sure you will. But yeah, so as you can see, I'm just continuing to shred up this meat, and then I will show you the finished product right at the end, guys. Alright, that meat is nice and shredded and ready to be plated up. So here I am showing you guys the finished product, our ropa vieja, or shredded beef, with some rice, black beans, and plantains, which I also made. And if you guys are interested in seeing those recipes, let me know, and I will see you next time. Bye. Thank you for watching.